So I want to talk really quick about painting with RMA or working with RMA, which we do often from Unreal Engine, and that's if we look over here at our shader, that's where they take the metal, the ambient occlusion, and the roughness, and they place it in one image, which makes sense because they're just black and white. They're black and white images, so they place them in either red, green, or blue channels. So one of the lazy things that I do often is I'll take an asset and make it into something else. Like I need these lights to be. This was actually like a big cone light. I probably should have showed that where I just deleted all the polygons and then extruded this part out to make it more of a inset light, what we call a can light. And this will just stick into the ceiling when I'm finished with some emissive on it. But right now, what I realize is that it has this sheen to it that I really don't want. So I can paint this thing out, but it's a little strange how this works. So if I step over here to texture painting, so what we're doing really is we're painting with a solid color. So this is my RMA image right here, and you can see that it doesn't really have a whole lot of information, just kind of a lot of or a little bit of maybe even metal almost that looks purple. So it looks like they put a little bit of metal and some roughness in this. If I wanted to make this metal, because there's nothing here now, it's just strictly an alpha. If I wanted something like metal, which if we look over here again at our shader, we can see that green is roughness, blue is metallic, red is actually ambient occlusion, which I'm just not using right now. So I'm going to jump back over here, and if I make this, pure, I don't know, pure green or pure blue, what is RGB? So metal would be like blue. So if I take all this down and make it pure blue, and I start to paint on this, I'll actually be painting in the metal of this particular piece. And you can see it here on the map being painted in just pure blue, and that just makes it pure metal. Now we can take that and say I want half metal, which you don't normally do, but you can just make it slightly metal and do the same thing. You're just painting in a little bit of metal, right? But we also can do that with the roughness. We're just going to take out blue and pull in green. So this will be a pure rough. So if I paint that in, and it's almost that way, or it's the opposite. I'm sorry, it's almost completely smooth right now. So I might not want to make it like purely rough. I'm hitting undo, by the way, because there's no eraser. If you look at the color picker, alpha is not in here. If alpha was in here, then you could set the alpha to 1 or 0, and then we could erase this, which would really be nice. If you're a Blender dev, that would be a super nice thing to add, is not only have RGB, but have the alpha, the A here, that is adjustable on this color wheel. But as it is, you got to be really careful because there's no way to erase this. You'd have to pull this into Photoshop in order to erase this. So this is pure green. I don't want it to be, I want it to have a little bit of something. So I'm going to kind of experiment. I'll put, a little bit of green here, and it's all about that that alpha. I'm not going to be able to, I might be. Let me take my. I've never tried this. I'm taking my tablet now over here because I was using my mouse. So let me. Oh well, my tablet's on my other screen, so I can't experiment with that. But try out your tablet. It's possible that your that the value, because usually it's like a value range, so or an alpha that probably would work. So your tablet would be the alpha of it. But right now I know I want this to be kind of solid, so I'm just playing with how much I want it to. That looks pretty good. So I want it to catch a little bit of light there. I want to be careful with this, and I could make it to where I'm just making giant swaths of it in one go. That way I can undo that really easily, right? And I accidentally colored over that, which I'll change here in a second. That looks pretty good. That's about what I want. So I'm going to control C. So I'm going to go in and mask and then paint this in properly. And again, this is like a cheap, I should call this channel the lazy artist's way of doing things. But what I'm doing is I'm exporting stuff from Unreal Engine on a project that I'm working on, and I know I need something, and I don't want to model it from scratch. So this is like the best way for me to do something like this. So I'll go in and mask this. I'm not going to do that part of the video, but this will be a really quick one to just show you kind of how to work with these RMA images without having to separate this out and rebake it and then put it back together in Photoshop, because who has time for all that? So I hope this helps somebody.